Alright, people. So I tuned in to Obama's State of the Union address or whatever. I saw Alex Jones named it the State of the Dictator address. I agree with that nickname for it. I mean, basically a speech from a guy who is pretty much like a Hitler or a Mao in a lot of aspects, and just a ton. I've never really seen just so many communist ideas really spewed from one man's mouth before in an hour. Just ridiculous how many communist, um, viewpoints were just spewed from this guy's, dictator-filled mouth. So I took a few notes here, so let's get this review started off. Of course, he starts out with the typical, sob story here with this lady who's like crying almost. My dictator Obama gave me money, it gave me a job, whatever, some bullshit. Some sob story to try to convince the dumbed down fluoride drinking public to like him. And of course he says the moniker of troops fight for our freedom. Bullshit. They fight for the military-industrial complex. And if you look at ever since 9/11, actually our freedoms have been taken away more. Then he talks about how he's created new jobs. Well, actually, I'm hearing that these jobs are just created because of Obamacare, and now people cannot work a 40-hour job because of the Obamacare penalty. So now they have to work like two jobs, one like 30 hours, one like 10 hours, so that creates two jobs, but in reality it's not really a legitimately new job. And they always talk about, we created 10 million new jobs, but they never talk about the net profit of how many they lost. It's like we created 10 million, but we lost 9.5 million. Well, that's not that impressive then. It's like saying, we're a company, we profited $10 million, but we lost, 11 million. It sounds impressive when you say we made 10 million, but it's not that impressive when you factor in the losses. And then he just goes on this whole fucking, binge, I guess, if you want to call it that, about like all these socialist ideas, like, healthcare, telling businesses why they can, what they have to do to their workers, like give them, maternity leave or whatever. Talks about raising the wage, free college, community college, just a bunch of socialist, communist ideas here, and it really pissed me off to see, all these people clapping for all this, all this communist, fascist bullshit. I mean, just totally anti-free market, totally anti-capitalism, totally anti, just freedom right here. Just fucking socialist up the ass from Obama. Then he says, he talks about how great America is and our economy's doing great. Yeah, we're great off now, people. No, we're not great off. I think that all this, so-called the boosting of the economy or whatever is just a made-up bubble that's going to pop eventually and lead to another depression or another recession. Then he also says, unemployment's down, and it's really funny that the government actually comes out with the unemployment stats, not some private organization. I'd rather see some private organization come out with the unemployment stats because they could always skew the numbers. The government can for political reasons. So you never know if that number is even legit or not, which it probably isn't. Then he says, we're giving the military the best proper care. The best, not the breast. Give the military some titties. That wouldn't be that, horrible of idea right there. But that's a fucking joke, people. Give them the best. He says they're giving them the best care. Bullshit. It just came out in Forbes that military suicides are at an all-time high, and if you combine current military suicides with former military suicides, it's actually at like 21 per day. And then the VA scandal came out of not treating veterans. How could he make a statement like that? And instead of actually treating them and giving them care, physical rehabilitation, mental treatment, they're giving them pills and more pills, instead of this instead of actually treating them properly. Then he talks about ISIS and Russia. Like, oh, oh, the Russians are so bad, and the Ukrainians, yeah, they're really getting their democracy in there in Ukraine with the, he talks how great Ukraine is in there with the neo-Nazis, hailing Hitler. Like, you could pull up pics of people in their government going like that. And we met with them like months before the Ukrainian Revolution. Victoria Nuland did, one of our top diplomats. And BBC even did a piece on how there's Nazis running Ukraine. It's fucking, it's not this great democratic, nation right now like Obama's and the government's promoting it and the media is promoting it. It's run by Nazis. And then they're demonizing Putin because Crimea voted 95% to join Russia because they didn't want to be part of the neo-Nazis. So then they're demonizing Russia for going in and getting their oil pipelines out of Crimea and just taking that area because, frankly, the Crimea asked for it. And I'm not saying Putin's a great guy at all, but I mean, he's really demonized in the mainstream media. And again, he's not a great guy. I think he does a little, he does things that are wrong, but I think he's certainly better than the New World Order. And then, ISIS talks about ISIS, and we'll work to fight the radical Islam or whatever, the radical terrorists or whatever the fuck he calls them. When they openly fund them, I mean, it comes out in the mainstream news, foreign news. Colonel Anthony Schaefer says it. It's pretty obvious that we're purposely funding. We're just accidentally airdropping supplies to ISIS. Give me a break, Obama. He talks about these cyber threats, and notice how he doesn't even mention North Korea, probably because the public knows that was a lie. that whole North Korea bullshit was just a lie, probably to bring in more internet sanctions. And he says he wants more internet freedom. I don't buy it. I think they're gonna use a lot of these internet hacks, like ISIS hacking. Supposedly ISIS hacked the Pentagon website or CENTCOM Twitter. I think they might try to use these to bring in more internet tyranny as opposed to internet freedom. Then he says we are stopping the spread of Ebola, which is complete bullshit. If you go on the CDC's website, you can see the statistics, and it's actually rising. The cases are actually, it's actually alive and well still in West Africa. So the fact that we sent troops in to stop the Ebola, how does that even make any sense? Yeah, we sent 3,000 troops in to stop Ebola. Like, why would he send in troops to stop Ebola? If you really wanted to stop it, you would cut off the flights from West Africa, and you would send doctors there, not troops. That makes no fucking sense. And you would quarantine people who got back from that area. So the fact that we're stopping Ebola, bullshit, we're not. It's still spreading. Then he comments on global warming bullshit. Talks about how the planet is getting hotter. Yeah, it's really getting hotter. Here in America, it's fucking really cold. And they also like to use the moniker of, the ice caps are melting. The Arctic ice is melting, which is a complete fraud as well. If you look at the Arctic ice, it's actually at record levels right now. The polar bears are doing fine. And just I think global warming is a complete fraud, or climate change they call it now. And even if there is climate change, that's our planet's natural tendency to change climate. We've had numerous ice ages throughout the years. Our planet changes climate naturally. That's just what it does. So I don't think we should give up all our rights and freedoms and institute a global carbon tax just for some made up conspiracy theory, pretty much. And I did agree with about, I would say, 2 to 4% of what he said. Actually, did talk about trading with Cuba. I did agree with him on that we should open up with Cuba and be diplomatically involved, I guess, if you want to say, with Cuba. Because we are with China. You don't see anybody saying, let's stop trading with China. No, we don't. We still trade with them. They're communists. They execute people for tax evasion, then sell their organs on the black market. Oh yeah, they're fine to trade with. Yeah, you know, Cuba. No, we can't trade with Cuba. He did talk about closing Gitmo, which needs to be done. He did come out against torture, I think, a little bit too, which is the correct stance on that. I mean, torture is illegal. It gets false confessions. It's wrong. He did talk a little bit, and I agree with him on this, about kind of uniting as opposed to fighting amongst each other. But right there, he's totally contradicting himself, because he's the one that's helping start this kind of the civil war, the race war. So, you know, he's kind of, or at least his administration is contributing to, or at least criminal elements of the government are contributing. And George Soros, who is now, you know, came out, he funded the Ferguson protests, are now contributing to the racial war here in America, to divide us amongst each other and to distract us from the tyranny of Obama himself and the rest of the criminal government. So overall, you know, I agree with him on a few issues, very few amount of issues. This was just a fucking communist, socialist propaganda bullshit speech here, you know, filled with a lot of communist ideas for the most part. So there you go, people. There's your, and I will post the notes if you want to see the notes I took on the fucking State of the Union, and I used here on my phone. I will post them in the description below in a Google Doc format. So there you go, people. Check it out. Hope you enjoyed the video, and comment what do you think of the State of the Union address. Do you somehow support this communist freak, this communist lying freak, or do you agree with me that Obama is just a socialist, communist, New World Order puppet? Comment below, and I will see you in my next fucking video, people. So there you go.